from quite a young age, I've always been inspired to find out about wildlife, to get knowledge about it, and to go out looking for them. I think a lot of people, especially in the UK, would be familiar with watching Sir David Attenborough documentaries on the telly, and for me it was very much the same. I really enjoyed watching everything to do with mammals, birds, marine life, so I would love just watching, you know, killer whales hunting and lions taking down antelope and zebra. And bearing in mind I was 6 years old, and some people might think, oh, that's a bit too gruesome for a young person to watch and enjoy, but I was just amazed that this was life. This was how the animals had to survive, either being hunted or becoming the hunter. So yeah, it really stemmed from watching these nature documentaries, and at the time I didn't know that that was something that I could do as a job, hopefully, later in life. I also remember at primary school there was a local wildlife photographer came in, his name was Nick, and he showed not just the local wildlife but also animals and birds from countries I probably hadn't even heard of at the time, and the same went for the species he photographed. I'd never heard of the birds he photographed, but I just loved knowing more about wildlife across the world. And yeah, from there it was just getting to know the local birds in the garden, going to find the otters at the local reserve. Going up to secondary school, I knew I wanted to work with animals, but I didn't really know which venture to go down. At one point I wanted to be an archaeologist because I really like dinosaurs. I wanted to become a marine biologist at one point as well. And then for work experience I worked at a zoo because I wanted to be a zookeeper. So there was always that in the back of my mind that I wanted to work with animals. I just wasn't 100% sure which avenue to go down. Throughout secondary school I was very much an arty person, and it fed through into my years at college. I went on to do an art and design course for 3 years, and it was actually within that course where I discovered photography. It was a lot more theory-based, sort of understanding where photography came from and learning about the rule of thirds, and also how to use a film camera because we had a dark room, and that was a learning curve in itself. But it awakened this new artistic side of me, and during my time studying it and then going on to do a degree with the university, it was in that moment where I thought, wow, I could combine this, the photography side, along with capturing wildlife. And at the time I didn't know I had even the option to go on to look at photographing wildlife and filming wildlife. So it was in those years of college where I really wanted to delve into it more, and I remember getting a very basic, I think it was a bridge camera, like fixed lens, went to 20 times zoom, which I thought was great, but the megapixels probably weren't so great. And I would just take it anywhere there was animals. I took it to zoos, animal parks. I would take it to the local reserve just to photograph anything that came along, whether that be squirrels, robins, the like. And it's been part of my life ever since. So that must be around 13 years that I've been just doing wildlife photography in my spare time. And yeah, from there I either took tips from different local wildlife photographers, or I would just teach it myself, learn it through YouTube, or try to understand how a particular image was taken by another photographer. So yeah, a lot of it has come from, you know, learning on the go, and it's still very much the case today. Following back up to the present, the now, I've really been wanting to expand, to show my work in more places, and that comes from doing YouTube. I started it back in 2021, and it's been, again, another learning curve to sort of understand how to tell a story in a video. In terms of the photography side, I'm still enjoying it, but I'm wanting to get more serious in how I want to capture certain species. I love seeing nature everywhere. I love seeing the local robins. I've just seen, I think, a buzzard flying up. You know, your usual common species. I love to see them and I love to photograph them, but I can easily get distracted, and that often leads to taking photos that I haven't thought much about. It's just been photographic there and then, capturing that moment as it is, and not considering where the subject is in the frame and what the environment's looking like around it. You know, there could be a very harsh background where I'm dealing with a subject that's either very similar to that background and it can blend in, or there's something very distracting in the foreground like a stick or a grass, and come to edit it and you can't really do much about it. So I really like to take the time to really think about the species I want to capture and how I want to capture it. It's been a steady going process, and I've seen the changes in my work over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. And there was actually a new area of wildlife photography that I delved into a little bit not so long ago. I came across a pair of mute swans down the local riverbank, and I sat a fair distance from them, but they were just happily preening, and there was a dark background behind them, so I took the advantage of reducing my exposure compensation. I really enjoyed how they came out, because it wasn't, you know, a usual standard portrait of a swan. I was really enjoying the shapes that the swans were making with their necks and the way they splayed their wing feathers out to preen. And so that became like my first taste of natural artistry and wildlife photography. And it was really fun to do, because coming to editing, you know, the background, yes, it was, I think, a brick wall or something like that. And being able to just up the contrast, turn it to black and white, making it look as though it's something photographed in the studio with a black paper background, and getting all the, you know, a swan is not a decorative bird, it's very plain, it's white. But when all the feathers became ruffled and the textures shone through when the contrasts were boosted, yeah, I just really liked how it turned out. And it's a new avenue of wildlife photography that I'd love to expand on and do more of, because it's more than just capturing the subject as is. You're noticing the shapes that they create when they move in a certain way, and the textures and the patterns of the feathers. And that reminds me, there was another moment where I was out looking for wildlife, and there was this barn owl sitting out on a post about mid-morning, which was quite unusual for the species with it hunting at night. But it sat on the post and it didn't mind me being there. I was in my car, I pulled off, turned off the engine, and yeah, it just sat there. And again, I had a moment where, you know, I could change it to black and white when it came to editing and make the background not so distracting. And I focused more on the barn owls, the patterns on their feathers, and also looking for moments where it wasn't looking directly at the camera, looking off to the side, for example. And again, it was just a whole new perspective that I really enjoyed and I'm wanting to learn more about. So that leads on to what the future holds and where I hopefully see my photography going from here. As you all know, I started YouTube a few years ago, and what I would really like to see happen is be able to do proper documentary style videos going forward, telling the story as it happens rather than kind of going out and winging it as what I've done in the past before. And I'm hoping that following on from here, I'll be able to start doing that. I've got some new pieces of equipment that I'm really excited to try out. And it also leads me on to say that next month I'll be visiting the Shetland Islands for the first time, which I'm very excited about. I'm really, really hoping to find one species in particular. A lot of you might guess as what it is, but I'll keep that hush-hush again for now. But yeah, it's an area of the British Isles that I've never seen before, and I'm just so excited to go. And I'll obviously be documenting that as well, the whole journey from travelling there and searching for this particular species. And that also leads on to doing more travelling in the UK. There's still so many environments and landscapes that I haven't been able to see yet, and I've not long turned 30, so I think now is as good a time as any to explore more the UK, to find a species that I haven't seen before, and again to photograph and hopefully film them as well. I'm kind of hoping within the next 5 or 6 years I'm going to have an opportunity to do a lot more of my wildlife photography and to do a lot more travelling as well, because I do still work full time. You know, when I'm doing this, I'm working pretty much a Monday to Friday standard retail job, and I enjoy it, and it sustains paying for the house, paying for bills, and also paying towards my equipment along the way. But it'd be really nice to just have the wildlife photography as my job, to not earn a lot from it, but just to earn enough, whether that's through earning more through YouTube, selling stuff on Etsy. I do have a little Etsy shop going at the moment, just for greeting cards and some clothing lines that I launched last year. So yeah, just building on my confidence to... Is that a bat again? I think I've just seen a bat again. I don't believe it. For anyone who's watched a video from last year, I was out and about in daylight and there was this bat. It's a bat again. I don't believe that. Anyway, I got distracted. Where was I? Yeah, just to hopefully in the future, you know, earn more through doing my wildlife photography and have that opportunity to just explore new places and research species, find species, and yeah, just make it my job. Like I said, I'm working full time as it is, so finding the time to go out and photograph and film for YouTube is a lot more limited than years before. But I'm optimistic that that will change in the not too distant future, and again to have the opportunity to share this journey with you and just to become, you know, a full-fledged wildlife photographer. And yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be really exciting in the future. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, if nothing else happens in between now and when I go away to Shetland, yeah, I guess I'll see you all then. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, either leave a like or a comment below, or consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. You can follow my work on Facebook and Instagram by searching Photographic. You can also view my portfolio over on my website, as well as a link to my Etsy shop. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you all again next time.